My name is Jim Thompson, and I'm here to follow up my previous presentation about Evangelist, to talk a little bit about how evangelists operate in the church. As a review, you remember this decision tree. Again, it's giving us some key ideas about who an evangelist is and who an evangelist isn't. First question always is, when you wake up in the morning, what do you think about? And evangelists think about people, not about tasks. This is going to be a key idea that comes up several times in this next presentation. Next question, what's your favorite conversation? Is it a lively debate or heart-to-heart friend conversation? And this distinguishes an evangelist from a shepherd. An evangelist enjoys the challenge of reaching people who don't yet necessarily agree with him. In some respects, this is actually like a salesman, somebody who has something, a message they want to convey to people, and it may take some work to do that. And evangelists enjoy that challenge of conveying their message to people. And as we talked about last time, 3 words that describe an evangelist: a proclaimer, ambassador, a servant. And just in review, a proclaimer, sometimes we think of somebody with a sandwich board or somebody, a barker at a sporting event, something like that. But there's a key difference here. Jesus not only told people the message through words, he lived it. A proclaimer is one who not only tells the gospel, but lives it out and shows it for all of its reality. Next, we used the idea of ambassador. This is somebody who's energized by reaching beyond the groups that they normally are with, who represents the king to new groups, to new cultures, to people with new backgrounds. And then finally, we saw Paul as a servant who did everything he could to understand the people that he was working with, to understand their language, their interests, their culture, what motivates them. And an evangelist does that. Why do we need an evangelist on our team? It's one of the 5 Ephesians 4 gifts, and like the others, we need all of them on the team. Several ideas to think about. Evangelists are very good at understanding how outsiders view the church. I mean, think about it. When's the last time you put yourself in the position of driving into the parking lot of our church, getting out the door of your car, and then trying to figure out where the door is and what's going to be on the other side of that door, who's going to be inside the auditorium, how big it's going to be, what reactions they're going to get from people? An evangelist understands that perspective. What's it like to be new? What's it like to not understand what it means to be an insider? And they can help all of us learn that. They naturally connect with people. Particularly, they're good at connecting believers to non-believers. So they're like a bridge for many of us, to bridge to the world around us that doesn't yet know Jesus. And each evangelist has his or her own personality. And interestingly enough, that personality may not mesh with some people. And if they're good at evangelism, they'll know how to connect somebody, a non-believer, with somebody, a believer, who matches better in terms of interest and personality. They're excellent leaders in a greeting team. Many times greeters are people that hand people a piece of paper and say, welcome. An evangelist not only does that, but says, I'm glad you're here. What brings you here? I remember my first time here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. They get to meet people, find out their story, why they're here, begin to incorporate them into the life of the church. They bring gospel focus to the entire ministry. For example, evangelists will ask the question, how can we involve evangelism in the nursery ministry? How do we involve evangelism in the physical plant ministry? I mean, you may not think about it. People that take care of the physical plant, they are naturally reaching out to people all during the week. People that come onto campus, ask questions, all sorts of opportunity to reach people who are here on sort of an irregular basis. And that sort of idea of reaching out to people in all parts of our ministry is important to be effective in ministry. Our next issue is, how do we nurture an evangelist? Like any giftedness, evangelists start out inexperienced and need some help in learning to use their gift effectively on a team. One of the key issues is to remind them that doctrine matters. As you saw in the decision tree, they're not the folks that think about details and facts. They think about people. But they need to, at times, understand doctrine very clearly. And others, teachers, prophets, can help them to do that. And that's where the team works well. Encourage them to have patience with people who run the day-to-day church operation. People who are very task-oriented can be in conflict with an evangelist. Evangelist is thinking about the people that are coming in, the people in the coming into the service on campus. The day-to-day operations folks are thinking about whether the lights work. Both of those are important, and they need to be able to work together and understand each other's gifts. And set up opportunities for them to apprentice with people who are task-oriented. There's nothing better for an evangelist to learn the ministry of somebody who is task-oriented, to become involved in it, to see the value of it, to help those people learn to put evangelism in their task-oriented ministry, and help them to see how their gifting aids the internal ministry of the church. It's got to be a part of all that we do at church. Now, there is an interesting issue. I think there's a good possibility that Paul was not an evangelist, because you notice in this verse, he says, pray that I could speak boldly. And that's not an evangelist. Evangelist has an internal ability to speak boldly to people, and he didn't. And frankly, this is where most of us operate, isn't it? And this is where evangelists help the rest of us learn how to be an evangelist. And in fact, that's my story. I'm a teacher. I'm not a people person. I really enjoy studying the scriptures, looking at how they fit together, looking at the details of them. But God has called me in the last 5 to 7 years to work outside that area. I haven't taught a class in 3 or 4 years. I have been involved in reaching to some recent immigrant neighbors in our community from a really different part of the world, speak a different language. God said, this is your new ministry, Jim, the teacher, is learning how to reach out to these people. And he's put me in this position to learn how to be an evangelist. And it has been challenging beyond belief. And in fact, here's a little secret about the issue of being an evangelist. And that is, some of the best evangelists are those who learn to be an evangelist. And the reason is they feel completely helpless. They feel unable to do the work of an evangelist, and that is exactly where God wants us, so that we depend on him to give us the words to say. And that produces extremely effective evangelists. So, those of you who aren't evangelists, look to your evangelist friends. Ask them to help you to learn what their gift is and to help you to gain that ability. Thank you very much.